when things feel too technical, my brain just kind of is like, okay, just go sheep.
Magical, demonic, or cursed, all of the above. Like, you did this to yourself. Like, what did you think of her Event Horizon 70? Event Horizon is a 1997 science fiction horror film directed by Paul Anderson and written by Philip Eisner. The film follows a crew of astronauts in the year 2047 who are sent on a rescue mission after the Event Horizon, a spaceship that went missing 7 years earlier, spontaneously reappears in orbit around Neptune. So, Stephanie.
Alex.
Have you ever seen Event Horizon before we decided to do it for the show?
I have not. I hadn't even heard of it, really, and
Okay.
I guess it's pretty big.
Interesting. Okay. Well, before we get too far in our discussion, this was actually a recommendation from my friend Jake. He asked if we could cover this, and here we are covering it.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Obviously very curious about your thoughts, as always, because specifically, both of us don't share any sort of passion about space-type movies. So, did this change your mind at all? Did you like this more than others? What are your thoughts?
I did like that they included the horror elements because I do feel like sometimes that's where the disconnect of like the horror of being trapped in space kind of falls. Like aside from that isolation, for me, whenever anyone's in space, it means and they're trapped like that. I'm like, okay, going to die. Goodbye now.
Later.
Like there's no hope for you kind of thing. And in this sense, that's also here, but at least it has the horror element to kind of keep driving the pressure as well, because there was a chance that they would go home, but that kept dwindling and dwindling.
It sure did. It kind of devolves by the end with what is happening.
What did you think of it?
Here, my glasses are like crooked. Let me adjust these. I'm like looking at myself. I'm like, what did you think of the episode? What did you think of her Event Horizon 70? I liked it overall. I think it started very strong to the point where I was like, do I really not like space movies, or do I just tell myself that? Like, this is really cool. By the end, I was like, okay, I feel it unraveled a little bit. And my thing is, it was in this weird in-between of it went too far, but not far enough.
Right.
Like either push the envelope, which I have a lot of background information about where this movie could have been, or make it more atmospheric and downplay it a little bit. I feel like the first half of the movie was one thing, and then the second half was the second thing. Like once we figured out that they kind of went to a hell realm, I was like, oh, I don't think I was expecting that to be the thing.
I was not expecting that.
And I'd be curious your thoughts of this realm, what it is to you. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is how we're going. It's not like aliens necessarily.
Yeah, not really. Just kind of like the madness of people once they have gone through this dimension.
I really wish it was able to push the bar and make it even more intense, because I do feel like things were missing, and I know things were missing based on the research. And I could tell. I feel like I was able to see, like, wait, how did we get to this spot? Like, what's the backstory here? I just found myself questioning a lot of things by the end.
No, you weren't alone. Even without the background stuff, I was confused a couple of times where I was like, I don't know why, one, anyone would agree to go on this research mission based off of that recording alone. And, like, only until they're on the ship on the way to that crash site do they even determine that that recording is partially in Latin. Mm-hmm. So we're just going off of weird screams that could have been something from the ether or whatever. Either way, it doesn't sound promising, so I don't know how we could justify taking 8 more people over there.
The TDRS did receive this single transmission. Same recording, through several filters, managed to isolate what appears to be a human voice.
Liberate. Liberate me. Save me.
My big question initially is the crew didn't even really know why they were there.
That was a big question for me as well. I was like, I feel like you would get at least briefed on what was happening.
Yeah, and trust me, I don't know how information is given to crews when they go into space. In my mind, they would be told at least somewhat what's going on. Maybe this was like a top secret thing and they couldn't say anything. But that, you basically held these people hostage, I feel. You're like, we're going to do this thing. And they were pulled because the one woman was supposed to be home. And they're like, oh, sorry, we had to basically call you into work.
I did try to find a replacement for you, but with such short notice, it was impossible. I am sorry.
I talked to my ex. He's going to take Denny for Christmas. I'll get him for the summer, so everything's all right.
Feels odd to me, and I don't know if that's how it really works, but when they first start out on the ship and they're just showing the doctor, everyone's got like animosity towards him. They don't really like him. Then they just immediately go to sleep, and then they do introductions after and find out why they're there, which I think is wild enough.
We are out of order of operations here.
Right.
Like, can we introduce each other and then maybe, go into space? Going back to like the other realm, do you like that wasn't necessarily aliens and the ship poofed into a different dimension?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. I think they went a little long into the explanation of how they got from point A to point B, as he put it, where he put the paper together and everything, and now we're in this dimension. And
This attractive piece of paper represents space-time, and you want to get from point A here to point B there. Now, what's the shortest distance between 2 points?
A straight line.
Wrong. It folds space so that point A and point B coexist in the same space and time. And when the spacecraft passes through the gateway, it's called a gravity drive.
I was like, I don't know how that makes sense, but okay. And then once we see the ship, I'm like, these are just all death traps. Like all of these weird spirally things, the room that just has spikes on the ground with the ball spinning, and one person, as they're crossing the bridge going into it, says, this is just a meat grinder. And I was like, someone's going to die right there. Just the whole thing looked kind of death trappy. So,
Yeah, the ship was modeled directly after Notre Dame cathedrals, and then just with the Gothic arches and cathedral-like interior. But I want to talk specifically about the core, because how gaudy is that core? Because our Dr. Weir, Sam Neill's character, is like, I designed this. I'm like, slay. Like, that's, it is really like interesting and kind of pretty to look at, but it does seem over-designed for functionality.
Right. Like when they pull up alongside of it, they are just like a blip to the size of the craft in general, with how long it is between the lifeboat section and the main hull. I think that's what they call it. And it's huge in comparison to this little ship that they had come up to see, which I don't know what the rescue mission would have been like if they actually had people to rescue.
Get on our other ship.
But would there have been enough room, since there was like already 8 people on this very little ship in comparison to what they're coming off of?
I guess. Well, so I don't think the crew was that big on this giant Event Horizon ship.
Well, we see that in video, and it's very disturbing of like their descent into chaos, or the aftermath of that. And there's several of them. So I don't know. I think there was at least 4 or 5. Their crew was taking up the majority of the ship that they came on, in my opinion. Like when you count like how many little waterbed thingies that they're in, like that's full.
Yeah. Let's just assume there was another room of enough of those. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's fine. Or they, you could just stay awake. I don't know how that works, but you're
that's
fine.
up to you.
Did you like the look of the core piece specifically in that room? The
ball?
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, but again, I was just trying to make sense of a lot of it. So I was like, that's the opening to the dimension. And I don't know. Sometimes when things feel too technical, my brain just kind of is like, okay, just go sheep. Like,
just nod your head in and be like, okay, yeah, that works.
I was like, all right, if that's what you need.
When I saw that thing, I'm like, that looks magical, demonic, or cursed. All of the above. Like, you did this to yourself. Like,
On
that just
purpose. Yeah,
looks-
this whole place.
Like, if you showed me
honestly.
that, I would have been like, yeah, that's some kind of ancient bullshit that you put into the ship. You asked for it, sir. Not really.
He did. Well, didn't he? I don't know. I have questions about Dr. Weir. But
Me
we can
too.
wait if you want.
Yeah, because in my notes, I put he's a very strange character. I couldn't tell if he was malicious off the bat because he has moments of where he seems somewhat under a trance of the ship, but then
Mhm.
sometimes he like snaps out of it.
Open the door.
Captain, there's no danger. The gateway's contained behind 3 magnetic fields. It's perfectly safe.
Safe! Doctor, my ship is in pieces and one of my crewmen may not make it home alive. No one else goes near this thing.
Was he always compelled by the ship to come back? Because by the end, he goes full evil. He's like possessed. I said, Nick actually watched this with me, and I looked to him. I'm like, is this Hellraiser in space?
Yeah, with the lines on his
Mhm.
face at the very end. Yeah.
Which, funny enough, there is a Hellraiser in space movie, I think. I haven't seen it. But, like, obviously he built the ship, so he has a lot of stake.
the
in-
connection to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Mhm.
I thought he was going to be evil without being possessed, like, halfway through the movie.
Like, I get that he was having the visions of his wife, which I wasn't sure. After we saw her die, I wasn't sure why she didn't have eyes. That was a big question for me. I was like, wow, they really like showing that she doesn't have eyes. So I was like, she's going to lose them in some dramatic accident or something. And then she ends up unaliving herself, not anything to do with the eyes. And then all of a sudden he is evil and punching out his own eyes, and he's bad. But beforehand, I thought, he just wanted to save the ship just because he had the vested interest in it. He built it, whatnot. But I don't know where that line kind of went to. Like, now it's crazy town. To me, it was like a huge jump into comparison to be like, we can't leave the ship. Like, I need to take the ship back, blah, blah, blah. To like, here are my eyes. Like,
And I think that is part of my problem. And when I mentioned just like things felt a little missed, like we kind of jumped from here to here, and it's like, where was that in between? I usually say we could shave some time off of a movie. This is an instance where I'm like, okay, we could have added some time. Does lead me into some of the background. Did you want to hear about some of the production troubles this movie had?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Before we go into that, I did want to like put a bow on my thoughts of this movie. I feel like it was good, could have been great had we got the version that was supposed to be given to us. And what I mean by that is, I guess I blame the Titanic is part of a huge issue with this.
Oh no.
So the Titanic, and this movie came out during the same year, and Titanic was scheduled for, I think, around the summer, and it got pushed. So Paramount's like, oh, we need something to fill the spot. So they pushed this movie to get completed faster than it should have. So the original was 130 minutes, which might have been maybe too long, but it was heavily edited by the studio's demand. As Anderson explained, directors usually have a standard 10-week editing period to produce a film's final cut, as guaranteed by the Directors Guild of America. However, due to the short production schedule, the rapidly approaching release date, and the fact that principal photography had not finished, Anderson agreed to a 6-week editing period and promised to deliver the film by August of 1997.
Oh boy.
I will say, though, despite everything that was cut and the shortened time, like the movie's still, I think, pretty good. I know
It's still cohesive. It follows, a main plot and everything. It doesn't seem like they took sections and were like, nope. and then it's just lost from there. But some things could have fleshed out a little bit more, but now we know it was probably cut.
I know, like, this movie wasn't super well received. I do think it was better than a lot of people said, but I just wish we had a little bit more, because it was on the precipice of a really great movie.
I think it was hard to, at least for me, to stay invested with the fact that there was really no clear way that they were all going to come out of this, or even any of them. It seemed like it was just sort of the first incident happening all over again to me. And I was surprised it didn't go farther to like replicate what we saw in the video of the first crew. I thought it was going to be almost like a reenactment of that. But when it was just Dr. Weir running around doing his crazy shenanigans with no eyes, then I was like, oh, well, I don't know when we're going to get to that part. But either way, no one's making it out alive at this point because we're killing off people that are essential to getting home and all that.
I could see that. I think even if in my head even if I knew like they weren't going to make it out alive, I feel like it'd still be enjoyable getting to that point. But as I mentioned, I wish either we took it there, we were able to get it as crazy as the footage, which we'll talk about in a second here, or just make it more subtle.
There was no clear-cut ending of are they really saved or not, because even when the rescue mission comes for them at the end, the lieutenant is freaking out because she sees Dr. Weir, and they're still on said ship. We don't really see them in another ship going home, so we don't know if it's going to divulge further from there, just like pick up where it left off and keep going. Because the ship is alive, haunted, whatever you would like to
but that was
preface
like
it as.
That didn't actually happen, though. It was like, well, it could have, but that was like a dream she had, and then they actually showed the actual rescue people, so.
Right. Well, no, I'm just saying, like, yeah, that's all possible, but I'm saying she's so traumatized from it, and they're still on said ship when they are in the final scene, that there's a chance that they could get locked in somehow or whatever, and then it keeps going.
I guess that's a good question, because like the bulk of the ship detaches and goes back into a black hole. Is that little piece that's floating still possessed? So.
Yeah, maybe since it's been disconnected, it's just what it is, but they were surprised that it hadn't been harmed in the explosion. They said something along that line. So to me, I took it as still probably haunted.
I'm entering the grav couch bay. It doesn't appear to have been damaged in the explosion. There appear to be 3 survivors.
Yeah, that shit is cursed. Leave that in space. Do not bring that back. Get them off of there. But going into some of the deleted footage, and I guess before we go into that, did you find this movie like super disturbing?
I would say probably the most disturbing would be the clip of what they find from the previous crew, but that's only a couple, maybe less than 2 minutes of footage, and you kind of just get the gist that they're in hell. Like, you just kind of see bodies writhing and a guy holding his eyes. It's a lot, but also kind of hard to make out what all is happening. You miss just enough where I wouldn't say it's like, oh no, I can't unsee this.
The reason I ask is a lot of specifically the log videos was cut from this movie. Like, it was way more intense and showed more. And like in this movie, you get like flashes of it. In the original cut, you see like the whole kit and caboodle kind of a situation. Test audience were sick from it. So I did want to go through some of the specifics here because I find it fascinating. I don't know that
really. Honestly, I kind of wanted more information, not to be gross, but I did want to know what was actually happening in there.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have enhanced the movie per se with just watching logs, because it kept going on for like 2 minutes. But one of the shots detailed a female crew member with her mouth clamped open while a crazed colleague drilled screws directly into her teeth. Other cuts showed a man crawling away with his legs that were smashed to pieces by steel bars, a woman having her breasts torn off, and a crew member pulling out his own intestines through his mouth.
Ooh.
So
okay.
They were showing that in full detail. So we saw like glimpses of that, but I'd be curious like what this movie would have been like had they just really shown it. I want to complain about Google AI for a second. I don't trust any of this stuff. And it did pull it up initially, but all this information I found did link back to a video called Every Deleted Scene from Event Horizon Explained. This makes it even more terrifying, and that video was done by Marvelous Videos channel. So I wanted to give credit to where the AI pulled it, and it linked to his video. So go watch that video. I just wanted to give that person the credit for that information. It confirmed it for me. And then I saw this quote from an article. It was called Event Horizon's prequel comic has revealed the full blood orgy sequence. And this is going to be really interesting, I think. Well, actually, I take that back because I forget. You're not the biggest fan of Hereditary, right? You share that sentiment with me?
Yeah, like, well, I I walked out the first time I saw it,
Right.
but I liked it better the second time.
Okay, well, let me rephrase this. This has somewhat of a connection to Hereditary. By the time the first 3 issues were done, most of the crew are dead, thanks to the efforts of the demon Paimon and his cancer monster. The only survivor seems to be Captain Kilpatrick, who is tormented throughout issue 4 by Paimon. The demon then resurrects the crew and has them mutilate and assault each other again and again. Eyes are ripped out, drills are jammed into mouths, and faces are pulled apart, with Event Horizon Dark Descent leaving little to the imagination. It's a suitably despairing issue, with a repetitive violence designed to psychologically torture the captain for his failure to save his crew. Based on information in the comic, the ship is possessed by Paimon, specifically.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Which is an actual demon deity thing.
Right,
obviously.
right. Also referenced in Hereditary. I think he's, one of 9 princes of hell?
Again, Google AI, this is what it's pulling up. Paimon is a prominent figure in traditional demonology, originating from occult grimoires like the 17th century text, The Lesser Key of Solomon. He is classified as one of the kings of hell, fiercely loyal to Lucifer, and commands 200 legions of spirits. That kind of confirms that they went to our version of hell.
Well, doesn't even Dr. Weir, when he is possessed by the ship or whatever, what have you, doesn't he say it's not hell, it's like a chaos dimension, which is makes it just bad, not hell, I guess. I don't know.
It's a realm similar to our idea of what hell is.
But she's gone much, much farther than that. She tore a hole in our universe, a gateway to another dimension. A dimension of pure chaos. Pure evil. When she crossed over, she was just a ship. But when she came back, she was alive.
Which does lead to yet another connection to something else. Are you familiar with Warhammer 40,000?
No.
Okay. One of my notes here was, where did Event Horizon actually go? And we're having that conversation, obviously. Fans have kind of adopted this to be an unofficial prequel to Warhammer 40,000, which is a tabletop game. It's a British miniature war game produced by Games Workshop. It is a popular miniature war game in the world and is particularly popular in the United Kingdom. So where this has a connection, most Warhammer 40,000 fiction is set around 40,000 AD. Though Warhammer is mostly a sci-fi setting, it adapts a number of tropes from fantasy fiction, such as magic, supernatural beings, demonic possession, and fantasy races, such as orcs and elves. In this world, it's called the Warp, also known as Immaterium of the Sea of Souls, is a chaotic alternate dimension of pure psychic energy, fueled by the emotions and thoughts of all sentient beings. It is the source of all psychic power, the home of chaos gods, and the medium used for faster than travel light. So that's where that connection comes. The way to get there is the same way to get there in this movie. The writer has gone on record. He said that this isn't actually connected to Warhammer, but he was playing a shit ton of this game when he wrote this movie. So it's thought to think, even if it was subconsciously, somehow consciously, he pulled references and ideas from Warhammer. So
okay, because I was going to say, still a bit of a stretch, but at least, the writer admits that he was playing it, so not completely.
So I found the actual tweet. This was back in May 4th of 2017. The tweet said, "I played the shit out of 40K, so it was definitely an influence, conscious or otherwise." So he wasn't even gonna admit that it was, he's conscious or maybe not. I don't know.
Right.
I thought that was interesting that there's this whole other thing that it could be connected to
it. Not even the same style of media. It's a game,
And I so badly want to do a deep dive on what this Immaterium of the Sea of Souls is, because that sounds infinitely more interesting than just saying this was hell.
At least in space, hell is a new premise to go to. Didn't know that we were going to go to hell in space, but going to hell in any other horror movie is just that's just
par for the course.
Yeah, of course you were going to go there.
Yeah. It's what do you mean you didn't do aliens in this space movie? Low-hanging fruit.
They're right there.
They're literally everywhere in space, obviously. What do we mean, hell demons?
You imagine the alien ship just driving past them and oh no, like it's just going the other way.
That ship is fucked. I don't want anything to do with that.
When Dr. Weir's like, no, we gotta take care of the ship. The ship needs to come back. Like, no, sir, that's fucked. Like, before we go to ratings, I did have a quick comment about the captain. He was a little annoying, and I was making fun of him at first because I was like, oh man, like he's just a buzzkill. He likes to sit in his little swingy chair. He's not really doing anything. But he does really come in and save the day at the end, and I take that back. But I just thought it was silly because whenever you see him, especially when they're on the way to getting to Event Horizon, he's just sitting in his swing chair. He doesn't press any buttons. He just kind of yells at everyone. And
he's captaining. Captain's captain. The captains tell the people what to do. That's what he was doing.
I don't know. It just never looked more like Star Trek as him sitting in a little swing chair. Like
the chair, I'm like, does it have to be suspended like that? Is that just a thing? I don't know. I don't know science, so I'm like, sure.
Is that the safest method, that he gets a swing, like, and everybody else just has a regular desk chair?
He doesn't really swing, it more swivels, okay? Let's get it straight.
Yeah, okay.
For our ratings, we will rate 4 aspects of the film out of 3. We will total that all up, and that's how we will get our overall scary rating. So, Stephanie, what did you rate Event Horizon?
Okay, I gave plot a 1, suspense a 2. I did think it was a little scary with Dr. Weir running around and you don't know what the fuck he's doing. Atmosphere a 3, because like the ship is massive. There's so many little areas where weird things are happening. Oh, we didn't mention it in the plot, but the one woman's son who was handicapped in a clip that she was watching of him, from Earth, like a home video or whatever, was running about the ship, and she just followed him, and I was like, that's definitely not your kid. Like, man, please stop. Look, every section of the ship basically had something for somebody to hurt themselves with, so I thought, gotta give points to atmosphere there. Villain, Dr. Weir is super confusing as a thing, but honestly, I would be terrified of a man running around without eyes. And then has eyes, but still like threatening to take me to a chaos dimension. No, thank you.
That's bad. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, right. Extra point though, I did give it a meh, which is a no. Just because I think you're right. At what we were discussing, it would have been great if we would have had those areas fleshed out to really understand like Dr. Weir's descent into madness, or like whether or not he came on to the ship with that in mind. And, those details about like what really lies in the chaos dimension, that stuff.
So that was a total of 9 out of 13.
How about you?
All right. I gave plot a 2. I gave suspense a 1. Atmosphere, I also gave it a 3. Villain, I gave a 2. And I did give it my point for a total of 9 out of 13 as well. Shook out a little bit differently. I think... So villain was interesting for me because I would say the ship is also, since it's possessed by something.
True.
My problem with that is it didn't ultimately really mean anything outside of it's just like kind of a haunted ship. Like it being alive, quote unquote, didn't really matter all that much. And Dr. Weir by the end got a little goofy to me, which kind of just dropped the score. That like final battle scene, I'm like, this is a little silly to me personally.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then for plot, I'm surprised you gave plot so low. I feel like a baseline, if it's in space, that's automatically a 2 because space does scare me. Okay, we're in space. We're already at that 2 mark. And it just left me wondering more than really digging into that other realm. So
for me, the plot was lower mainly just because of those missing bits that we weren't getting enough information on. And I admit during a lot of like their discussion portions, like explaining of the technology of rising into this other dimension, going from point A to point B, and the explanation of the journey, those kind of points were kind of losing me. I was like, oh, okay, space, here we are in space. Like,
yeah, that's fair. I think you could totally enjoy this movie and just take it at face value and not like really want that extra explanation. I just found it really fascinating that we went to a route where they went to another realm and they didn't just go with like alien things that we kind of talked about. So I just found myself wanting more.
And to be fair, that's why I gave it the higher score. Honestly, it might not be plot because I think there's just a lot of holes with like no explanation for the crew, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's totally fair. I liked it overall, and I thank Jake for recommending it because I had a good time with it. So
yeah, well, thank you for the recommendation. But space.
Somebody will never enjoy space.
Very few times have I been like, yes, space.
Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to be notified when we post new episodes.
You can follow us on social media using 13 Degrees of Screams.
This has been 13 Degrees of Screams, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.